Mercedes-Benz CEO is pleading with European countries, pleading with Germany, pleading with the European Union, and he's been doing this now for months to stop putting tariffs on Chinese electric cars. Please don't do this, he's saying. This is not going to be good for us. It's not going to be good for Europe. It's not going to be good for our competition either, even BMW. This is why BMW and Mercedes, but in particular Mercedes, are very, very worried about what China could do back to Europe as a result of these tariffs. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. It's great to see you. Now, let's get straight to this. Obviously, Europe sells more cars in China than China sells in Europe. So if Europe puts a tariff on Chinese-made vehicles, and then China goes around and says, well, we're going to do the same to you, who is going to be affected more by this? Mercedes-Benz makes more profit selling vehicles in China than it does in Europe. So it's very, very clear here why Mercedes-Benz is saying this. But the other reason is this. Mercedes-Benz electric car supply chain. I mean, who do you think manufactures all the parts that go into a Mercedes-Benz electric car? Do you think it's Mercedes? They're all just suddenly vertically integrated. They're suddenly vertically integrated, making all their motors, they're making every single thing. No, Mercedes do invest a lot of money into electric cars, but they're not vertically integrated. A lot of the things that go into Mercedes EVs, whether they're sold in China or Europe or anywhere else, Australia or anywhere else, are manufactured by Chinese companies. Now, do you really want to bite the hand that feeds you? I don't know that that's such a good idea. Now, Mercedes-Benz's boss is saying he doesn't believe in protectionism. He says his company did not ask for the probe. Now, of course, he doesn't believe in protectionism in his case because it's going to hurt Mercedes-Benz. Keep in mind, Mercedes-Benz don't have a great name in China either for EVs. Now, yeah, Mercedes-Benz sales have actually been not bad in China. BMW Mercedes, they've actually done okay over the last couple of years. Their sales have gone down a little, but only by around about 5 to 10%. Whereas mainstream legacy automakers have, well, it's been much worse for them. However, Mercedes-Benz's boss, Ola Kalanius, believes that Europe should lower tariffs on electric vehicles imported from China, expressing his belief that increased competition will force European brands to build better cars. Now, the other thing is Mercedes-Benz, I believe a big part of their plan is to sell in Europe electric cars that they manufacture with their joint venture Chinese partners, sell those in Europe. In other words, Mercedes-Benz, it's hard for them to manufacture an electric car in Germany or anywhere else in Europe and then sell it at a good profit. They can make a lot more profit if they manufacture them in China where all the batteries and all the motors and everything else is, and production is much lower, the costs are much lower, and then just simply ship them to Europe or ship them to Australia or ship them to wherever they want to go. Southeast Asia, that's a better strategy. That's what a lot of European automakers want to do. Now, Kalanius made his comments during a recent interview with the Financial Times as the European Commission considers raising import duties on Chinese-made EVs, believing that they are unfairly subsidized by the Chinese government. In fact, the European Union is saying BYD is receiving direct subsidies for every car it sells in Europe. In other words, the Chinese government is directly making a bank transfer straight to BYD's bank accounts for every EV they import from China to sell in Europe or any other country outside of China. Not just BYD, they're saying they're doing it for MG as well, which would make sense. But I mean, MG is part owned around 50% by the Chinese government. Alibaba owns part of MG as well. SAIC, of course, the parent company. Who owns SAIC? Well, you put the dots together, it's pretty obvious. So yeah, of course, MG are getting subsidized because they're state-owned. Anyway, don't raise tariffs, said Kalanius. I'm a contrarian. I think go the other way around. Take the tariffs that we have and reduce them. Mercedes-Benz boss added that Chinese brands exporting to Europe is a natural progression of competition and it needs to be met with better product, better technology, more agility. That is the market economy. Let competition play out. I'm not so sure that's a real good move. I mean, in the short term, yeah, that would be for Mercedes-Benz to do that for all the reasons I've already mentioned. The long term might not work in the way he thinks it is. The way he thinks that it will. But maybe it will. Maybe the Mercedes-Benz brand is strong enough. It's possible. As it is, Chinese EVs are hit with a 10% tariff when imported to Europe, while European car makers pay a 15% tariff when exporting to China. But of course, most European car makers make the cars that they sell in China as a joint venture partnership with Chinese car companies. So the truth is, though, that Volkswagen historically has sold, on average, 40% of its global sales in China, and then 50% of its profits have come from China. So you can see that China is very profitable for European car companies. We as companies are not asking for protection, and I believe the best Chinese companies are not asking for protection, he said. So he's saying he represents the German automakers. He says we as companies are not asking for this. They want to compete in the world like everybody else. It has been opening up markets that has led to wealth growth, especially the economic wonder of China, he says, that has lifted hundreds of millions of people out of poverty. Now, he's right, but I mean, what is he saying here? The economic wonder of China for Mercedes-Benz, yeah. If we believe protectionism is the thing that gives us long-term success, I believe history tells us that is not the case. Now, the truth is, Germany has been practicing its own version of protectionism for decades. If you believe otherwise, you're absolutely crazy. You just don't know. All right. The truth is, the German government has subsidized the German automotive industry to the tune of hundreds and hundreds of billions. Hundreds of billions. Could even be more than $1 trillion. It's really, really hard to actually work out all the amounts and put them all together. But the truth is, it's hundreds and hundreds, possibly over $1 trillion. That is a form of protectionism, right? That's basically what Europe is accusing China of doing. Now, the truth is, American government has done the same thing. Every country does the same thing for their automotive industry. That is a form of protectionism, really. Executives from German automakers like Mercedes-Benz fear retaliation from China should the European Commission enforce new tariffs. This could hurt Mercedes, as more than 1/3 of all of its car sales come from China. Geely and SAIC also own, or SAIC also own, a fifth of Mercedes-Benz, the company. So it has pretty strong ties to the country. I mean, Geely, of course, is a Chinese conglomerate. And, you know, if China tells Geely to do something, I'm pretty sure they're going to do it. So if China goes and says, Geely, sell your shares, get rid of it, and Geely just suddenly dumps 20% of Mercedes-Benz, it's not going to look good for Mercedes. And if Chinese government imposes tariffs on Mercedes-Benz cars, well, it would hurt Mercedes-Benz significantly. Mercedes-Benz CEO said this: "We live in a pragmatic world and realize there are some expectations to the general market economy rule. But if we seek our fortune in increased protectionism, we are going the wrong way." Guys, I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on this, knowing the full story, the full picture here. Obviously, Mercedes-Benz are not disclosing this information. They're not saying, oh, we're making these comments because we're afraid of... But now that you know, what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments, and thank you for watching.